Welcome to this week's edition of Good Books Radio. Audiobooks.com is the chief underwriter for Good Books Radio, which is produced by UTRGV Media Services for Rio Grande Valley Public Radio. And now, here's your host, Dr. John Cook.
Welcome once again to another edition of Good Books Radio. I'm your host this week, Dr. John Cook, and with me today is Amalia Andrade. She was born, and she has a unique about the author. It's written in the first person. I'm just going to read it. Hi, I'm Amalia Andrade. I was born in Cali, Colombia in 1986. I studied literature at Pontifical Javieran University in Bogota. I've been drawing forever. I've written for several magazines in both Colombia and the United States. I believe strongly in the power of keeping a diary. When I grow up, I want to be a mix of Sylvia Plath and Tina Fey. I don't know what else to write since my editor is making me do this, and we all know that writing about yourself is impossible. I live in Bogota with my cats. Amalia, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here.
This is a super book. It's entitled, You Always Change the Love of Your Life for Another Love or Another Life. And this is a particularly poignant book for me right now because I have some friends who are going through that lost love depression. The book starts out by saying, this book is for you if you are heartbroken because of many different things. The love of your life is gone. The love of your life you let the love of your life go, and now you're regretting it. You were born with a broken heart. You're heartbroken over the death of your dog, cat, or boa constrictor. You broke up with your best friend. Someone you love very much has passed away. You broke up with an imaginary boyfriend or girlfriend, or you broke your own heart. So that's a pretty long list of possible ways to be sad.
Yes, it is. But there's also another option because, the list could be infinite. So there's a space in there for the reader to write his or her personal reason why they have their heart broken. We tend to think that the only reason we get our heart broken is because of, romantic love, but I think we can get our heart broken because of many, many reasons. For example, I don't know, when Britney had that meltdown, my heart was in a really bad place. She was my hero back then, and she broke my heart. So I think this book, that was supposed to be a joke. I know it came out awful, but anyway, this is a book for everybody who's been sad, who's been depressed, who's been in a bad place because of a heartbreak, and I hope it can help people mend and heal.
Yeah, and there are several places in the book where you get to fill in the blank if the list that the author has provided doesn't suffice, and I like that. I also want to note that this is a very interesting print in that your excellent penmanship is for most of the book. There's a couple of pages here and there with typical Times Roman block print font, but most of it is written in what looks like, an ink pen, and it makes for a unique experience of reading, but also feels like a workbook on those pages where you get to write in. I like that, and I enjoyed reading it, and actually it was a faster read than I normally have when I read a book. But I do want to start with the crying chapter. Again, I have some friends that are going through some stuff right now, and crying is the first thing. And I do think it's important to cry, don't you? To let the tears out?
Yes, it is very important to cry. And I think in our society, you would assume that it is okay to cry when these things happened. But for some people, it's not that easy, especially for men. I think society has put us in a way where it's horrible that experiences such as the loss of somebody who we love very much is divided almost by gender. Like women are allowed to cry and to dwell into the sadness. I don't know, watching, for example, chick flicks or something of that sort, while men are supposed to keep their tears in or, deal in other ways that are not necessarily emotional. And I think it's very important to create spaces where anybody can feel free to cry. And you know what? I also feel it's very important also to take crying to non-private spaces, because we always feel like, for example, sometimes, I don't know if it has happened to you, I feel when I'm really sad, I feel like crying in the bus or in a public space or in the subway or whatever, and you almost immediately feel ashamed, like, oh my God, I shouldn't be crying here, like this is not okay. So I feel like I should start a campaign for people to feel okay crying in public. And it is very important to cry when we are sad. It is very important to cry when we have our heart broken. It's the best way to heal. It's the most powerful emotional tool our mind and our souls have. And I think we should embrace it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noted in the list of things that definitely do not work, one of my friends is actually doing the first thing, sending text messages that are longer than a handwritten letter. I get text messages that are pages and pages long, and I do think that doesn't work, and I don't think it reflects well. I'd rather see her crying in public myself. But there's some things that do work, and indulging yourself seems to be one of them. Where did you get so much insight about these things?
Well, from my own experience, mainly, but I also did a very long research. The book is, for example, it's my own handwriting in the whole book, and I felt like I had to do it on my own handwriting because I wanted to connect with readers in a different way that other books on mending a broken heart does. There's a lot of research I did for this book. I spoke with doctors, I spoke with psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, writers, widows, for example. I did a lot of research, but then I kind of stepped out of that big chunky, very, I don't know, like maybe scientific or professional information, and I decided I wanted to create a book that felt very light, that felt like almost having a conversation with a friend. So everything in the book draws from all that research and from my personal experience and from the experience of my friends also.
Mm-hmm. It really is rich, and it really does feel like a conversation with a friend. I like the page, People Who Had It Worse, Hillary Clinton after the 2016 elections, the Kardashian brother, and so on. There's a lot of good stuff there about who may have had it worse than you. The medical aspects of heartbreak include insomnia. Is that often a problem for folks like this?
Yes, it is. We don't talk a lot about the physical repercussions of heartbreak. We're very familiar with the emotional side of it because we see it a lot. We see it in songs, it's on the movies, it's on series, but the physical aspect, we are not very familiar with that. And many of the things that happen when you get your heart broken are similar to, for example, withdrawal syndromes of people that are addicts, because your body gets used to another body, and there is chemistry and many, body process involved there. So when you have your heart broken, you can get insomnia because you're feeling very bad and the cortisol levels in your blood are up. So it's a common symptom. Also, you can fall sick, for example. You can get the flu very easily because your immune system will get down because your immune system was supported also by the other person's immune system. And this happens not only in a romantic relationship, also, for example, when your pet dies. And the book explores all these medical explanations, including one that's my favorite. That's the false heart attack syndrome, which is very common. I didn't knew about it until I did the research. But many people feel like they have a heart attack and they go to the doctor and everything seems, it's almost identical, all the symptoms to a heart attack, but it's only a false heart attack. And I think it talks about how deeply connected our emotions are to our body. That's why this is not included in the book, but one of the best things you can have or you can do for yourself when you are heartbroken is to take some Tylenol, because emotional pain is activated in the same brain region as physical pain. So it will actually help you feel better, for example.
I think that's a little known fact, and that's a very interesting one. You have a self-destructive behavior checklist, and then after people score it, then there's some ways to deal with it. But I did want to get to the high end, because one of the opportunities there is to recognize that you have to die and be born again. And I think that's so important to recognize that.
Yes, it is. I think, and what I wanted this book to be is, I think many other books are very focused on how to be better and how to get better soon. And I think this is not that book. This is a book that's going to tell you, like, you're going to indulge in things that are not going to be good with you. You're going to be self-destructive, hopefully not in a very awful way. There's a disclaimer in the book also that if you need psychiatric help, you should go get it. Sometimes people feel bad, like, oh, why am I going to the doctor, the therapist, or the psychiatrist because of a heartbreak? And I think it's fair enough. It's something very traumatic to go through. But I felt like I wanted to make a book where you could understand that you're gonna go basically through hell, but that you're gonna be reborn again. So one part of you is going to die, but that is an excellent opportunity, to reinvent yourself. So many great people that I admire have done so many amazing things just after a heartbreak, including, I don't know, Adele, what Beyonce did with her album Lemonade, which is also a visual album. It's poetry. To me, it's art. I'm not exaggerating. Like, I think what she did was brilliant. So, as Carrie Fisher said, take your broken heart and turn it into art. And I think this book is here to remind you that good things can come from bad places, emotional bad places.
That's terrific. Well, let's talk about some of the feelings, anger, revenge, and other related feelings that show up. What struck you most when you were writing this part?
I think that part is very funny when you're out of that situation and then you look back to it, how you felt like, I don't know, you felt angry or you wanted to take revenge, and it's almost like all these crazy full ideas come to your mind, but it's necessary. It's very necessary to go through all these different stages, which can feel like going crazy, because one day you're very depressed, the next day you're full of anger, and then the next day you feel kind of okay, and then you're super depressed again. And so many people feel like, this is going very bad for me because of that, because it's a process that is not linear, that it's full of up and downs, and we tend in life, I think we're not sufficiently prepared to understand negative emotions. I think as a society, we are very trained to succeed, for example. We are very trained to be well, to be our better selves, and we don't embrace bad or negative emotions enough. And I think that this book, its main I don't know, concept or its main premise is precisely that it's okay not to be okay, that you're going to feel it all, that you're going to be happy, you're going to be full of anger, and that it doesn't have like, I don't know, like it doesn't have to be one thing, then the next, and then the next, and then you're okay. Like it can happen in many different scenarios and some ways, and that we should embrace that disorder, emotional disorder, which seems hard, but when we just let it be, is the moment where the healing starts.
Yeah, I like that point that it's non-linear, the process of getting over it. You write in the book that anger is a good thing because it lets us get rid of repressed feelings or unfulfilled emotions that we don't know how to express any other way. To let your anger out is something that some people just won't do. And I know that when I'm listening to my friends who are lamenting how depressed they are, I've never said this, but I want to say, well, get over it. But, of course, that's no help at all.
I think it does. Of course, for the person who is in the process, maybe that won't help because each of us, we grieve in our own ways. And for example, a question I'm often asked is, how much does this take? And I always say, it takes the time it needs to take, it might be 2 weeks, it might be 2 years, as long as you feel like you can deal with it, like it's not something that's maybe affecting, I don't know, your work life, like you need to go to a therapist. It's okay, it can take a lot of time. But I think it's we, as a person who is going through that process, we need to hear everything our friends need to say or to express, because it can make you, I don't know, consider stuff. For example, if you tell me, just get over it, maybe it won't make me get over it, but maybe it would make me, think, oh, am I, I don't know, staying in this feeling too long? Should I move to other feeling? And that is also an interesting concept, because we are also not used to seeing feelings as something that comes in. We can embrace the feeling and then we can let out the feeling. We are not used to that. And I think we should do that. We should know that feelings are not states, like they're not permanent. They come and they go. So, I don't know, understanding that can help us heal. So actually, yes, go say that to your friend. I think it can be helpful in a way.
Desperate measures for depression is an interesting section to me, especially the moderate.
That's my favorite one.
Measures. Let's talk about that a little bit. Let's start with a few drops of flower essence, rescue remedy, mixed with a lot of brandy. That's okay to do on a short-term basis?
There's actually rescue remedy. It's actually a thing you can buy on drugstores. No, I didn't invent that up. Like I didn't made it up. It's an homeopathic medicine, and it works wonderful. I mean, I swear, I preach, like everybody who comes to me like, oh, I'm so bad. I'm like, hey, take rescue remedy. It's gonna save your life. And it's not only good for people who have their heart broken. It's good if you're going through a rough time, if you have a lot of stress in your life. It's magic. I don't know how they make that. It's based on like flowers and flower-induced brandy. I don't know the scientific thing going on there, but it's really good. But the thing I like with the desperate measures part in the book is that, in my experience, when I was going through this really, really awful heartbreak, that's the one that inspired the book, I was like, okay, by now I will do literally whatever it takes as long as it's gonna make me feel better. So I live in Bogota, Colombia, but my family and I was born in Cali, Colombia. So I went to visit my mother, and I was raised a Catholic, but I don't go to church a lot. And my mother was like, let's go to church. It's going to help you. And I was like, you know what? I'm so bad. Yeah, let's go. It's going to help me. Like, what else? Whatever I can take, I'm going to take it. So it's basically that. And some of those desperate measures actually help you a lot. Some are good, some are not good. And there's a list of those in the book.
Yeah, I was surprised to see going to a fortune teller or a palm reader, and also the blind date. I would stay away from blind dates set up by my friends, but maybe that might be an interesting experience to take you out of your doldrums.
Yes, I would definitely stay away from blind dates too. But you know, some people have crazy ideas. Some people think that if they find someone new to love immediately afterwards, things are gonna be easier. And I think it's the total opposite. Like we like many people tend to get into a relationship very fast after another one has ended. And I say in the book, like, you know, being over a relationship is not like having, you know, an illness where you need certain amount of time to, you know, get better. But it is always a good idea to process, to have time to process what just happened and to think. And that's why I think that being with someone really fast after ending a relationship is not a good idea. But, you know, I also say in the book that whatever works for me not necessarily works for you. And that's also one of the differences of this book, that it's a book that it doesn't use as a formula. It doesn't tell you what you need to do. It tells you that you need to be comprehensive with yourself, that you need to give yourself space to grieve and to feel all the feelings. And it gives you some advice on what's going to help you through your own unique process of being better and feeling better.
Mm-hmm. Super. There's a couple of other things that I don't want to miss out on. One of them is that you provide a list of songs that one might listen to, and a lot of them are not from my generation, I being much older than you, but there are a few from every generation, and many popular songs that I think might be great for people who don't know where to go, to what song to turn to.
Yes, music is so important when you're sad, right? Music is important to me every day of my life, but I think it's amazing to cry to a really good sad song. I think that there's a really therapeutic power in doing that. I try to put together a playlist from songs I really like from many generations. It's funny that you say that there are not as many from your generation. I am in my 30s, and I asked my editors, oh my God, I think there's not enough Selena Gomez in here. What are we gonna do? Should I put more Ariana Grande? Help me. And she was like, you know, just do your thing, put your music, and then there's space for people and for the readers to put their own songs and to put their own playlist together. But music is definitely very, very important in the process of healing a broken heart. I really like, I don't know, Adele, for example.
Yeah. And there's one that I've listened to so many times I can't count, and that's "Ain't No Sunshine" by Bill Withers, and that fits my generation. So, healing rituals.
But it's crazy how, you know what? And that's what I love about this book. I love how the experience of heartbreak is so universal, and we can all connect. And for example, I have listened to that song also many times, and we're from different generations, but we're speaking the same language when it comes to being sad and being heartbroken. And that's what I like about this book, that although it's handwritten and it has illustration, I think we can all relate with each other when it comes to these awful feelings. So it gives me hope in humanity.
It gives me hope too, and I actually am going to gift this book to the person I was talking about earlier that writes the long emails as a gift. The healing rituals, real quick. There's printing "I Will Survive," the words from Gloria Gaynor on a piece of paper and keeping it with you. Taking a piece of paper and writing down all the things that make you sad, and then burning it up, and then taking a few minutes to think about negative thoughts, pessimistic ideas that you keep repeating to yourself, and then realize that it's crazy.
Yes. You know what? Sometimes when something is wrong in our lives, we're so often told that time heals everything. And it is true. Time is very important for healing, but also we need to be very active with our own emotions and with our own healing process. So these rituals come in very handy if you want to accelerate the process, or if you just want to, make something that makes you feel better. This is very important actually, because we tend to be very, our emotional world is very interiorized. I might be making up words in English. If I am, please tell me I am doing so. But yes, our emotional world is very interior. Help me there.
There's a lot of good tips on how to reinvent yourself, and we don't have time to discuss them because we're running out of time. But physical activities, new professional horizons, healthy eating habits, turning to artistic or creative activities, spirituality. There's wonderful access there, and there's also a wonderful section at the end of the book, which is recipes for comfort foods from your favorite restaurant where you wrote most of this book. And I think it's all very helpful, and I think it's a wonderful read. And it's too bad that we're out of time. But I thank you for being with us today, and I thank you for this book. You make no effort to hide yourself on social media. The author can be contacted on the web at www.amaliaandrade.com, on Facebook at Amalia Andrade, on Twitter at Amalia Andrade. And so it's real easy to find the author. The book is You Always Change the Love of Your Life for Another Love or Another Life. And I remind our listeners that if you don't catch our regularly scheduled broadcast, you can catch up with us on YouTube at Good Books Radio, Strong and Cook. I'm your host, Dr. John Cook. Thanks for listening.